take us higher. Going up, but never coming down.
Anthropomorphic tuber. Welcome to Damn Weird. And in this, I'm going to attempt to organize my collective thoughts on various unusual events and things and people that have occurred and things I've studied. Just a way to organize them here onto YouTube for me. Now we're going to start with some of the easier things, simply because we need kind of a foundation for our studies, for something to look at. These are things that maybe shouldn't exist, but do. In this quest for the weird, I have decided to include plants as well. And we're still in the earlier stages where things that we're sure do exist, but there's questions about them. And that's what makes them weird. So here we go with the anthropomorphic tuber. More of a mythological or medicinal plant than things, basically because the roots end up looking human, therefore anthropomorphic. One type of these curious root vegetables are from the Shandong province of China. It is the tuber of the fleece flower plant, which is widely used in Chinese medicine to treat a number of conditions from chronic malaria to premature gray hair. Skeptics will claim that the shape has been often carved or manipulated by a sharp knife with someone's hands. However, roots resembling human shapes have a strong and long folkloric history, most notably in the case of the poisonous mandrake, which is a member of the nightshade family and is indigenous to southern and central Europe, as well as the Mediterranean. The forked root of this plant have often been known to resemble a human figure. Its narcotic and medical, or some would say magical, qualities associated with it that brings it to witchcraft. And in 1630, 3 women were executed in Hamburg for possession of such a root. According to Theophrastus, sure I butchered that one, famous Greek philosopher who wrote the first treatise on plants, Historia Plantarum, the herbalist could only collect mandrakes at night. First, one would have to lean towards the setting sun and honor the infernal deities, or, as it was known, the telluric forces. One should draw 3 circles around the plant with a virgin iron sword. Then facing west, to avoid the spells cast by the plant, one should cut portions of the secondary roots. One should not try to harvest the plant himself though, because when it was torn from the ground, the plant uttered a shriek that would drive most mad, or even kill those hearing it. Therefore, having carefully covered one's ears with wax, the herbalist tied a dog to the plant and threw it a piece of flesh just beyond its reach. The dog would run and drop dead, but the mandrake was torn off. Oh, how tightly was that rope? What killed it? But after harvesting the root, was involved in a piece of white linen, and later root and leaves would be separated and handled according to their different uses and purposes. In some cases, the root, preferably with a human shape, was dressed in red tunics, and small magical symbols were drawn on it, and it was stored in a box, wrapped in a silk, and bathed 4 times a year with wine. The liquid that was left after such bathings had magical properties and could be used to cast spells. It was also believed that mandrake would only grow on a site where a criminal was sentenced to death, under a tree where he was hanged. For this reason, and due to the common observation that hanged men often suffer erections, mandrake was believed to be an aphrodisiac plant that contained the hanged man's semen. Therefore, mandrake was also used to treat infertility. In addition, the mandrake root was also used to put patients about to undergo surgery into a state of deep sleep, during which the operation could be performed. The root was infused or boiled, and the solution was thus given to a patient to drink or applied externally in dressings over the wounds. However, dosage was crucial, as many would not wake up. Mandrake is probably the oldest known form of anesthetic. Whether this is an example of natural phenomenon possible on any tuber, or the work of quality sculptors keen to highlight the aphrodisiac qualities of the mandrake plant, and of course raising its value. Both these certainly invoke debate. Chances are, if not for their bizarre look, no one would have noticed long enough to find out what its other properties were. Yes, we owe nature a heads up for this one, but the weird one about this one is, why would a plant evolve to look so that someone would be driven to eat it? Thank you. to the Old Man Rants, episode 3. Today's episode, or issue, that I'm dealing with is art. And I would say I'm going to tell you how to succeed. Or, depending on how well you listen, how to fail. I know the latter better, because I'm very stubborn and went that way. But I digress. I'll start with what I see art as. Art is an image, or it could be a sound, but in its simplistic form inspires emotion or feelings of a story or something. It is more than just what it seems to be. It goes beyond itself. That's art for me. Chances are you may not agree with that concept, and that's exactly the point I'm coming to. You see, how can there be a standardized form of art if we can't even agree on a definition of what it is? So what do we do with that? Art is more broken in various ways, but what we're going to deal with, for the most part, is the concept of commercial art and professional art. When I was younger, I wanted to be, well, I shouldn't say when I was younger. I was in high school. I met a girl and she asked, "What do you want to do with your life?" I decided, I took about 6 months thinking about it, and I decided I wanted to be a comic book artist. I wanted to write and comics and do the art for them. I've been role-play games for years. I've been trying to, drawing the characters for our own games. Looking at the styles, people, I loved it. So that's what I wanted to do. Let's see, but more precisely, my original view of being an artist was that I wanted to be, I guess you would say, a gallery artist. I just wanted my art to be recognized for the greatness that it was, put in museums for everyone to see. I'd sell a few pieces a year and live forever like that. Nice fantasy, completely unbelievable, even if I didn't see it at the time. First of all, no one's really just a gallery artist. Galleries are advertising locations where artists that have already existing fields in the arts, maybe they're painters, photographers, whatever, they're already making a living in it, and this is a way that they're showcasing their stuff as a commercial. In some cases you pay for that commercial when you go in and see their stuff, but I'd still say go to the museums. It's a good thing to do. I started, well, let's say with public access and the arts I do there, and now with everything else I do, went from comic books to realizing they were like storyboards. And then as my hands and everything were going, especially with the neuropathy, I couldn't draw and paint as much, so I looked into the computer animation, the video more as I was going. Because the eye can still see the design and how to work. What makes a good image is still the same concepts. I created, and still all the videos you see on here is because I find that there's not enough stuff on TV that I enjoy watching, or on Hulu, on YouTube, all these. It's always been this way. 1, maybe 2 movies a year come out that I think are going to be good. And most of the time, they're not. I get 1 or 2, that I enjoy. But you got to understand, enjoying a film is just as valid as like getting some emotional movement out of it. Enjoyment is a response, therefore art. Well, I put my stuff out there so others that like stuff like I do can see it. And it may not happen, or maybe someday in the future, maybe someday people see this stuff and go, wow, that's kind of different, I like that. I still want to put it out there. And those that are like me and enjoy it, more power to you, man. Love you guys. Professional and commercial art is basically a field of you will create art for others as they want, when they want, how they want, and better than they knew they needed. On time, every time, for the right and fair price. This starts out with you get someone, do a little bit of art for them, word goes around, do this about 3 times. Long before you ever start charging, get used to a contract, even if it's a free thing. But don't ever work without a contract. Check locally about contract law in your area, what you need. Basically, so both sides know what you are doing, what you're expected to do, and why you are doing it, and what they're giving you. It is your time. You're doing their work. They want what you are going to create. And then you're just going to give it to them. And you're going to lose control of it. And that's what you got to do for a living when you're doing that kind of work. I wasn't cut of that type of thing. I never really was driven. I tried to be the materialistic driven person that's supposed to be. But I was more driven by what I wanted to see and what I wanted to do, and the style and the art I wanted to explore was much more important than what I could make on it. It was like a journey, a quest. I wanted to see. It's, it reflects, my art reflects me and my style. Another reason to do contracts is it expresses a professionalism. It shows you should respect what I'm doing. And they should respect it. So, it's not offensive. It's not to get them later. It's just so then you'll know when you're done. If you're like me, you will keep picking and knitting at and just taking. This lets you know as much as them when this will be done. And then they can tell others. That's the trick to building a career freelance as a professional artist. Now, what I mean by when I said earlier, how to succeed or how to fail. For me, it really proved on how to fail. Because I just was too pig-headed. I wanted to do my style of art. Well, actually, see, for years in the comic book fields, I was told to express a style like people at first. Then once I learned that, they said, you should really show something more of your own style. So I did that for a while. It's due to the change in styles, really. It's not entirely their fault. So I did that, and then they said, it's too dark. Dark Horse told me it's too dark. I have refusal letters from just about everyone in the comic books in the 80s. And that was a pretty large list, including heavy metal in England, sent to everyone. None of them said my stuff was bad. It's just that it was not a style of story they were looking for. The art was just to show what I could do. I wanted to do anything. I didn't have to sell the entire story. I think they assumed that's what I was after. That was just my demo. The problem I had with the concept of everyone will love my art one day is not everyone even sees colors the same. The elements of design can be altered by slight perception differences between people. Besides, what social implications of their lives have had upon it. That's why you shouldn't take it personal if someone says, no, they don't like your work. That's one person. Now, do take criticism a little bit, look at it, judge it, and see if it applies to what you're doing. But if this is a profession, listen to them and do it. The customer's right. And that's that, if you want to make it in that field. And more power to you if you can. I wasn't able to. It's just the rewards weren't worth it to me. So now I do what I do, and I've done it for years, public access and for free. And now in my retirement years, I couldn't be happier about it. You gotta do it because you love it, not because you do it for money. Thank you for your time. And see you in a while again as I go off with another thing that just irritates me. And I need to get it out. Old man rants. Good night. Queen Elizabeth commissions Raleigh to sail to America. Moments in history. Sir Walter Raleigh was the first man to visualize America as a place in which Englishmen might find homes, not wealth. He attempted to have Virginia colonized in 1584, again in 1585, and for the third time in 1587. This later expedition was led by John White, an incompetent whose choice of the poor soil of Roanoke on which to settle. He saw the colony launched and then hurried back to England for supplies for the new settlers.